right, so what we're going to look at now is we're going to look at something called the empirical rule. Since the normal curve is symmetric, 50% of the data always fall above the mean and 50% of the data always fall below the mean. Right, so since it's symmetric, our mean is right in the middle and it splits our curve 50-50. Additionally, the empirical rule is a rough guideline for the approximate percentage of data between 1 and standard deviations of the mean. The empirical rule says that if the distribution is unimodal and symmetric, then approximately 68% of the observations will be within 1 standard deviation of the mean. Approximately 95% of the observations will be within 2 standard deviations of the mean. And nearly all, or 99.7% of the data, will be within 3 standard deviations of the mean. Another word that we see when we're talking about the empirical rule is the word unusual. So we generally consider values to be unusual when they are farther than 2 standard deviations from the mean. So unusual means farther than 2 standard deviations from the mean. So what we see here in these pictures are a couple of visual breakdowns of our empirical rule. So in this top one, we see just the basic empirical rule. We have our mean in the middle. We're moving out to 1 standard deviation. As we move out to 1 standard deviation, we see 68% in here. As we move out to 2 standard deviations, we see 95%. And then 3 standard deviations, we see 99.7%. This one has it broken down a little more. Right? So notice there is a little mention here that 50% is above, 50% is below based on this. Instead of just looking at 68%, we've kind of split this using our mean in the middle. So each of these two pieces, right, if we have 68% total within 1 standard deviation, well then we have 34% on this side of the mean, 34% on the other. And as we move out to our 95%, that means we've already used 68%, so what's left over is split into 13.5% on each side, and then we have 2.35% on each side out in our 3rd standard deviation. So what we're going to do then in the next couple of examples is we are going to use and apply our empirical rule to look at some different things with our normal curves.